Well, hi, I'm Kiara Jones. I'm super excited to be here. I live in upstate New York, and what I do is help women of impact share their message more powerfully. So I use sales messaging and sales mindset work, a combo. My corporate background is in sales. It was very masculine. I didn't feel it, didn't vibe with it. It felt so like there's no connection that happens. And so what I really love is helping my women be able to step into what I call client intimacy with their messaging and be able to just kind of get deeper with, their clients and positioning what they do. And so we take sales messaging, sales mindset, bring it together to help women show up, speak, and sell more powerfully. And I am a maverick, a ruler, and a romantic.
So the first round of questions, and Kira, we're going to start with you. Kira, then Natalie, then Deborah, Gemma, Kim, and then Helen, you're going last on this one, is when you got the quiz results for SMA, was it a surprise? Or is this something that you've always known about yourself, that you like to break rules? Have people, told you, or have you gotten negative feedback from it? Or, was it a surprise, or did you just go, yeah, that is me?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I did my quiz twice, and I believe it was like a year or a year and a half apart. And so I honestly couldn't remember the first one. But right before I started the program and I did the quiz, I did not pay as much attention to it the first time. So it's one of those things of like growth. But the second time around, when I looked at the quiz results, seeing the idea of like, you are rebellious and you are a rebel, I was all here for it. I have a little trophy. Let me go right there. It's my most extra award. And it was like literally a part of me embracing this like extra isms that I like to pour out in the world. And so I wasn't surprised, but what I really love, and I'm sure we'll get through it with the program, it's really all about understanding how to infuse that into your business, from your business model to like how you want to show up. And for me, what I would take this a step further and say is that and it's still doing it. It made so much sense with the work that I do. So when I first started, sales was just, it's my corporate background. So it's like, yeah, teach sales. But I hated like the fact that like my clients would come in and it's like, they want to talk about sales from a numbers perspective. And I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, that's cool. And like, I'm all about women making money. But it was like, there's something deeper you're wanting to say that you're not saying. There's something deeper you want to sell that you're not selling. And like, what if you just gave yourself permission to do it? And that was when I really started to realize, like, I don't want to teach sales or be known for sales in the way that others in the industry have, but I really want to hone in on like what I call your power message and like powerhouse selling, which is just like getting into this really intimate space with like not only your clients, but also with yourself. Like, how can you connect with your ideal client if you can't truly connect with yourself in the most aligned way? So it actually gave me this like opening into more of like, what do I really want to be known for, and being a rebel in my industry and doing things a little different and speaking about it in a different way. And sometimes you're kind of like afraid because it's like, what if they don't get it? What if it's too different? But really just being okay with it and embracing it. And like, my grandmother has called me Miss Missy since I was like 3 years old. And it was really, that's what came up for me, was like me remembering like I've always been this girl who beat to her own drum. And so I think really it was like, it wasn't a surprise, but it was more of this like deeper permission of like, yeah, I've literally been this way forever. And now it's really up to me to embrace it and bring it into every part of my business.
So the next question, and I've put it in the thing too, of I want you to think back to your childhood. So Kira, you've already mentioned too that, was it your mum or your grandmother called you Miss Missy? And I want to hear like even more about this stuff, right? So we're going to start with Natalie, and I want you to think like, where has this come out? Because for some of you, I'm hearing it's not necessarily about rebellion. For some of you, it's about being bold or courageous, or seeing things that don't work, or being extra, or sparking a flame in something. So think back to some of this comes out really early, like at preschool, you go, no, this is stupid, I'm not going to do it. Or you led a rebellion in your primary school because of, I don't know, some stupid rule. And then the thing that came out too, what are your family, did they have a nickname for you? Did they ever say things like, it's your way or the highway? Or, you can't have your cake or eat it too. So, or were you called stubborn, or, just where did it come back? So just think about that from a young age. Where did that little baby maverick come in? We're doing Natalie first, then Deborah, Gemma, Kim, Helen, and then Kira, you're last on that one.
So yeah, my grandmother, she called me Miss Missy when I was 3 or 4 years old because apparently I had told this like older gentleman something, and everyone was like, did a 3 or 4 year old just say that to this, like, I don't know if he was like in his 50s or 60s. And so the word that comes up for me is sassy. And so a lot of my work is I bring in sales and visibility blocks. And so they're very much connected to this idea. Sorry about that. They're very much connected to this idea of like, it's wrong for us to show up and having this connection between it being sassy, or like, you know, you need to stay in a child's place, or like you need to be a little girl or be a lady, right? All these types of things. And so for me, I very much in the beginning of my life, like I would say before about 8 years old, I remember being this Miss Missy, this, you know, sassy girl, if that's what they wanted to call it. I was outspoken. I was very talkative. My fifth grade teacher, Miss Matthews, I will never forget. She, you know, was telling my mother, like, she asks why, but she embraced it. She was like one of the first people that I believe like actually embraced the thing and like embraced the fact that everyone told me I was nosy, my uncle and everything. And he used to tell me I would be a lawyer or a journalist. And he wouldn't even say journalist. He actually would say, you're going to be a lawyer or Oprah, but he wouldn't say a journalist. He would just call it Oprah. And she was the first person that for me was like, oh, Kiara asks why a lot because she's always curious. And I think as a younger girl, some may take it as you're talking back, or like you're trying to be disrespectful, or you're asking why because you're asking too many questions. And it's like, I never understood that. I was so confused. Like, I'm just curious. I actually just want to know. And so, you know, that was like kind of before 8. And then the age of 8 is when I can remember my weight becoming a thing. So like, I remember from 8 years old, the doctor always talking to me about my weight. So from about 8 to 13 is when I feel that, I forget who used this word, but suppressed. I think it might've been you, Deborah. And I sat with that because it felt very much like I was this like outspoken kid. And then I had this, the middle of my childhood, the middle of my, I guess, I don't know, childhood or whatever it's called, but that 8 to 13, where like you're becoming a girl and you're developing. And I developed because I was gaining weight. I developed naturally, you know, quicker. And so there were things physically that made me already want to hide my body. And then because I'm already this type of girl, I also feel like I need to hide what I'm saying or what I'm thinking. And so it's interesting because I was actually recording something for a podcast episode yesterday, and it's not even knowing what was going to happen in this conversation. And Helen, what you said is that you can tell your little girl that you've given yourself so much, or at least I'll paraphrase in how I said it yesterday. I said, like, I've given myself so much of what I've wanted, and I don't think I even like realized it. And it was like an aha for me yesterday. And me being able to break through that phase of like, yes, my boobs are bigger, you know, I'm thicker and curvier, but I can embrace it. I don't have to hide it. I literally used to want to wear like a t-shirt and like, just like, that's it, because I didn't want any like nice clothing or anything. And so that was 8 to 13. And then when I got into high school, I saw this girl, and in one of the first books I was a part of, I actually wrote about her, and I actually sent her a message like, hey, I want to tell you that you're going to be in my book, but this is what I want to tell you why. And she had no idea. And she was a cheerleader, but she was so sweet. You know, sometimes you think cheerleaders are going to be this like mean girl, bitchy type of thing. And she was such the sweetest, beautifulest person, and inside and out. And I remember looking at her and I was like, I want to dress cute. And my mother still remembers this. I was like 13, 14. I was like, Mommy, I want to dress nice for high school. And so it was like me coming out of that shell. That was the beginning of it into college. And so, you know, I went through this phase of like being outspoken, being me, feeling suppressed, like I had to hide physically because I was gaining weight and verbally. And then coming back into this space of like, no, I don't want to hide anymore. Obviously, I didn't know that was the word back then, but now I know. And now being able to see how it's so much connected to, for me, I say your visibility and sales blocks, because it's a part of you using your voice, and it's a part of you showing up, and it's a part of you being seen. So my little maverick definitely went through this phase where she thought that she had to hide, you know, and she thought that she had to silence herself. And I will even say that, thinking about relationships, because right now I'm engaged, and You know, it's definitely been a journey with Mike and I, him understanding the type of woman that I am. And I'm not your traditional woman. And, you know, I remember early on in our relationship, I was like, I'm not your mom. I'm not your mom. I don't want to do the things that your mom did. That's not who I am. And so I don't know if there's a future question on that, but as I think about the future, and I'm a fur mom. So if you saw me turn my camera off, it was because I was getting him. But I am a fur mom. I'm not a human mom yet. And if I become one, for me, it's very much connected to having to make sure I do things on my accord. And I don't believe in the roles. I don't believe there's a role as a wife just because I'm a mom, or excuse me, just because I'm a woman. I don't believe in the role of a wife just because I'm a woman. I don't believe in that. I believe that we are going to redefine those roles for ourselves. And that's so important to me. And I think I used to have shame for that around like, well, shouldn't I be this way? And don't I have to be this way? And getting into this space where, you know, you really allow yourself to, it really just goes, permission is like one of my favorite words. You know, it goes back to like letting yourself have permission. So yeah, yesterday having that moment, I was actually in the driveway coming back from getting lunch. And I was like, you know, I've really given, recording this thing. And I was like, I've really given myself all the things that she wanted. And kind of like there's this new phase of like, now I get to give her what she desires, because before it was very much from survival. Being raised by a single mother and having strong women in my family, I think that also had a play in why I was so like outspoken and different things like that, and felt comfortable in my voice until I thought it was an issue for people, and then came back to like, oh wait, no, it's not an issue, it's them, right? I forgot who, I think it was Gemma, but it was like, it's not them, or it's them, it's not me. And just feeling safe within all of my maverickness, you know. So
where is this showing up in your business? So here's the question, and I'll just put it in the comments, is like, how is your maverick showing up and sabotaging your business? But what was the aha around SMA for that? And so I've got a couple of things here of like, you know, have you burnt it all down? Have you gone into risky spaces? That Gemma, what you were saying about wanting to test the roller coaster, you know, which was just perfect for a maverick, right? Because it's like the comfort of the roller coaster. Or is it going, I am not going to do that, even though it would be useful for me. So going to that extreme, or just going, that's stupid, or worrying about the roles, like what you just said, Kira, there about, I want to do things differently. I don't want to do the same role as anyone else. So like, where is that sabotaging you in your business specifically? And you know, were there any ahas that you got around that shifted things? And Deborah, you're first on this one, and then Gemma, and then go around, and then Natalie, you're last on that one.
Oh gosh, so many things. The first thing that comes up to me is that idea you originally said around burning things down. So I feel like that's a term that I definitely use like for clients, and also I have felt myself. But I have to say that, so I did the program 2019, I believe, and that was actually the year that I came up with this term, realign to shine. And so what I realized was that it actually wasn't me needing to burn things down. It actually was me needing to go deeper. So not down, deeper, and step into more alignment. And when I stepped into more alignment in combination with all the things that I learned in SMA, which I have to say this, SMA, I remember saying this in the program, I'm having deja vu, but like this program was one of the only programs that I've actually ever gone through. And what I mean by that is like, I've invested like 6 figures in myself over the last 5-6 years. And I've definitely gone through programs and all that stuff, but this was different. There was this desire to want to go deeper and to do it and there was no like completing it, like checking off a box for someone else, like, coach, I did the lesson. It was like my work for me. So I just have to say that this was a different type of experience. So anyway, yeah, for me, number one, aha was like, I just need to go into deeper alignment. There's actually not so much that's wrong. It's just that I need to realign it. So that was one. An area that I sabotaged myself in definitely was regarding like funnels and webinars. You know, for me, because I'm such an intimate person, I felt like funnels weren't intimate. I felt like they didn't create connection. I felt like, you know, everyone had the same webinar type of thing, and everyone does that and everyone's doing it the same way. And I just didn't vibe with that. And I was like, oh my God, I am such a rebel that I want to say F you to the funnels. And like, I want my people to like feel me and all that. But that totally was a sabotage, because when you talk about creating simplicity, which I'll definitely talk about in a second, like changes I made to my business model. But in general, when I think about simplicity, I had to really do work around like seeing the beauty in funnels and like seeing what they could create, like how I could leverage, repurposing my content, creating more automation, like making a balance. Like there's some live stuff I can do because I know that like, you know, I will have like amazing conversion rates. Like when people experience my energy, whether it's in person or whether it's like on a challenge or masterclass. I don't like the word webinar. I like to say masterclass, but see, even that, like my energy around it. So it was really just some shifting and some reframing that I had to do on stuff, and not doing it the way that I thought I needed to do, or like format it like this and your slide has to be like that. And once I like found my jam and like my masterclasses, like, I don't want to talk at you. I want you to come on screen. I expect for you to talk. Like I remember one of the first masterclasses that once I finally gave myself permission to do it in my way, and like just interacting with people, they were so, like, I had to tell people like, I actually want you to talk. I'm not recording it. You can talk on it. Like, I want to interact with you. I'm a human being. Like they were so shocked. And so just finding ways to like bring me into it, but leveraging some of those automations and things like that, like instead of trying to fight it, because if I don't, well, then everything is live. And so now I'm getting to the place where like, I am exhausted. So trying to find the balance between the two was definitely something I had to realize. The other thing that I will say is definitely team. I don't know if anyone else has this. I haven't heard much about team, but for me, there's this, I'm also a control freak. So there was this, like, I have to do it myself. Like, you're not me. Like, I have to do it. But then also this, like, who are you to tell me what to do? Even though you're my team, like, one of the my content manager that I recently was working with for like 8 months, that journey was definitely like a lot of growth for me, because I had to learn, like, her giving ideas and suggestions, and it's very empowering for her, but it also was difficult for me to be in a space of like someone else trying to tell me what to do, or like me wanting to do my thing and like trying to resist it. And it was like, why are you resisting it? You literally are paying her to like give you this stuff. Like, why are you resisting this? So that is definitely something I am still working on, to be quite honest. Someone talked about decluttering. I think it was Gemma. And I think we all seem to be talking about that. For me, I had to introduce to myself this concept of the power of the core. And so for me, I had like 15 different offers before SMA. And I had gotten rid of some of them a couple like before, but in essence, before 2019, I had like 15 different offers, and it was stressing. It was stressful. It's like, I don't like launching, but like, yet I was in a launch model. Like I always had to launch and do all these things. That was exhausting to me. And so for me, 2019, as I stepped into 2020, my plan was like, I want to create more focus. I want to really hone in on my core. And so I talk about like the core 4, and, really just like claiming your core, like what's the core message? What's the core client? What's the core thing that you do? Like just honing in on what's your core offer. And so for me, for the 2020, well, since 2020, 2021, so like last 2.5 years, I have literally focused on selling 2 things, and that is it in my whole business. And being able to do that has been so amazing. And I just want to say, like, this is such a beautiful conversation, because it helps you think about the growth that you've done, and like, whoa, like this is what's happened. And I wanted to just share this story. So in 2017, I had my first $20,000 month, and I could not figure out how to make them consistent at all. 2020, when I had my next $20,000, I had another $20,000 month, but it wasn't consistent. From 2020 and 2021, to be able to be in a space where before it was from a one-on-one program, and then to look at my business and it's from a group program, and I can bring in like handfuls of women at one time. I literally worked part-time from May until like all summer long. And I still was doing like 20, 25K cash months, like not even sales months, but just, working part-time. Like it was such an aha. And even now I'm still like taking it in that like I allowed myself to have this time. It's like, it is the next level to me. And so I just wanted to point out how we're talking about decluttering your business model, focusing on your core, creating simplicity. Like I never valued simplicity as much. And one of the breakthroughs that I was talking about from yesterday when I was doing this recording for the podcast, I said something to myself around like, so much of my identity was in me being like a smart girl. So much of my identity growing up was like, I got good grades, especially being raised in a low income home, single mother, like education was the way that we were taught to get out, you know, and I was the first to go to college in my family, the first to work in corporate America. People thought I was crazy for leaving this big corporate job. Like there was so much identity I had in being the smart one and knowing the answer and like all the things. And so when you become an entrepreneur, I feel like if for me, it was like, go, go, go. Like it's, making money harder is the answer. Like to make more money, you have to work harder and all of these things. And, just being in a space where I know that I allowed this for myself. And now my next step is like continuing to allow it for myself, because I've seen some little sabotages try to come in the last, 2 months or so, as I look, I had my 2 biggest years. And then like going into this year, I'm like, okay, I want to top that. As I've started 2022, it's kind of like, I've seen these little sabotages. So one, I just want to thank Denise for bringing this circle together, because I just had this aha that's like, oh my God, I have to go back through SMA because and even if I didn't go through it, just being here in this time, it's kind of like, Kiara, this was why you created this program. So I know that Gemma was talking about a membership. I have a high ticket membership. It used to be low ticket. I couldn't deal with that shit. $97 a month wasn't working for me. I'm too extra and give too much for it. So I realized very quickly I couldn't do it. So then I was like, oh, I'm just going to make a high ticket one. And everyone was like, there's no high ticket membership. Like that doesn't exist. It has to cost this much. And I was like, well, this is how much I'm giving them. This is how much I'm paying. And it took me a minute to like really be okay with that in 2020. But I know that I've grown in it. I've increased that program in a beautiful way, and I'm excited for where it's going next. And I saw myself having a little sabotage like January, where I was like, wow, like, look at what I did, this year, I was in like 60K of debt. I paid off like 40K of it. I'm like, last 20K, like, I had all my taxes done in January. I had invested in team. Like I felt like financially, I'm like, I'm on my shit right now. And so there was this little moment of like, oh gosh, like, wow, look at all this stuff that I did. And so I think sometimes as a maverick, it is like, you did all of this and you worked less this year than you did 3 years before, but you made double and triple the amount of money. Like you're really, and it's like, yeah. And we're going to take that to the next level. So that's the next future sabotage that I'm working through. And I am so grateful to just this circle to like, just remind me of like that whole idea of simplicity. It is powerful. Like as a maverick growing up being little, it's like doing all the things I thought was really cool. And that was my identity. And now it's like, no, I like that my day is simpler and I can lay on the couch and I can play a video game and still sign a client, in the middle of me playing a video game and all the things. So lots of different ahas for sure on sabotages and things like that, but really, really grateful for this space.
Oh man, I wish we could just talk for hours more. Honestly, there's so many places that we could go here. I want to know, yeah, we're just talking then in the threads about like having to do short-term stuff because you get resentful or you feel like you're in handcuffs for having to do those long-term things. And that's the power of the maverick, right? Is that you can sell anything, doesn't mean you should. You can do lots of things, doesn't mean you should. But the thing that I guess I want to leave you guys with too is the power of technology is so good for mavericks. Because maybe as a kid, God, so many of you like youngest in the class because you got bumped up. So you were the different one. And the cool thing is now with the internet is that we can go and scoop up all of those different ones from all around the world. There's literally, no limitation to who you can serve. And we can use that as an amplification, and we can use the automation to support all of those things so you can create that freedom, but without literally burning everything down. And, finding those short-term team members or batching things in your high energy times, but you need the infrastructure behind you to do it. And so when we talk about simplicity, maybe it is things like the all-in-one Kajabi thing. So then you don't have the complication of lots of things. So there's a lot of ahas there around, just finding that way so you don't have to do fuck you to the funnels and burn it all down. It's like, I'll do it, but it's on my terms and it's got to support me, not the other way around. So there's so many nuances there around team and systems that will help us, because I'm a maverick second, to help us thrive, not double down on our self-sabotage and create those unhealthy patterns. So I got so much out of this. I hope you guys did too. All right, I've got to go. Thank you. Honestly, thank you so much for your time and your generosity, guys, and your ideas and your just activating energy. I just appreciate it so much. And I can't wait to see you guys in SMA. So, are you a ruler, a connector, or a maverick? Hang on, maybe you're more of a romantic or a celebrity. Take the Money Personality Quiz right now and find out which of the 8 money archetypes you are. And then I'm going to teach you how to profit from your strengths and make money in your business based on your natural personality. Click below and find out more.